So what you can actually see happening here, those little bubbles, are the actual fermentation process taking place. And what's happening is there's yeast in this mixture along with the sugar. The pineapple is very sweet, as well as the extra sugar that was added. Used a nice brown sugar, so it should deliver something nice into the taste of the beer as well. Nice caramelly type flavor, a hint in there. And as you can see, this bubbles taking place is what actually causes the carbonation in the beer, along with, because it's CO2 that's been emitted here, has been popping out, along with the yeast acting with the sugar, causing the converting the sugar into alcohol. And that's what obviously gives the beverage its alcoholic content. And through the fermentation process, releasing the CO2, and that's what gives it its fizz. And as you'll see, I've got my little gloves here as well on the top, and these eventually fill up with CO2 and stand up and tell me that it's ready to go for a bit of a vapor release. And you can definitely smell the just around the bottles, you can smell the aroma of the fermentation happening. And yeah, so we are now on about 36 hours. I started this on Tuesday evening, and the idea is it's going to run for about 72. So we about the halfway mark, which puts us at probably about Friday evening. Might push it through to Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. That's another, takes us a little bit past the 72 hours. We might go to 80 or 88 or somewhere around there. Leaving a little bit longer will give you a little bit extra kick in the mixture. I am looking at getting a little bit of extra, let's call it bang for my buck. So yeah, let's see what comes out of this. If it comes out more like a pineapple brandy rather than a pineapple beer, I'm also happy. But you can definitely smell the fermentation. So I did have a little taste test last night. I poured out a little sample, and it's definitely got that beer, brewed flavor to it. I'm actually quite pleased that the yeast that I added is maintaining the flavor in the product. It's not it's enhancing it. It's not taking anything away. And it's got that nice, like, little bubbly fizz of a beer or cider type product in it already. And that was as at 24 hours. So some articles you read about this, so you can start drinking at 24 hours. Anything longer just starts adding alcoholic content. And as I said, I am going for bang for buck. I did make a little bit of a mistake. The proportions, the recipe I used actually called for 10 liters of water, and I did it in a 10-liter container equivalent, which means I lost quite a lot of volume through the pineapple solid. So this was 3 pineapples and a kg of sugar in 2 to 5 liters, and a 10 grams of yeast shared. My next batch, I would do this at a pineapple. I would do split 3 pineapples over 3 bottles and 1 kg over 3 bottles. 1 packet of 10 grams of yeast over 3 bottles, 5-liter bottles. That way, it would get you closer to the 9 odd liters of actual liquid that one should be working with, because as you can see, the pineapples do take up quite a little bit of the space here. But yeah, I mean, literally you can see that stuff. If you look there, those bubbles, stuff's just bubbling out, man. When you actually look at that fermentation, it's good. What you can see here is I've taken it and I've put it in the sun, because it's weather's a little bit cool. We're heading out of summer now towards winter, or we're going through perhaps autumn even already. So yeah, the temperature's a little bit off at the moment, low 20s or high teens. So I just put it here on the kitchen counter just to catch a little bit of sun. That the warmth just helps keep the yeast active and alive, and that fermentation process going. Because definitely by the time this gets strained out and rebottled, and you put it in the fridge, that that closes down the fermentation process immediately. So when your product's ready to go and ready to stop, literally you pack it out and just put it in the fridge, and that's going to stop it. As you can see, I've got these little gloves on the top here, and while it looks quite ridiculous, it really does serve purpose. So it's got a couple of applications. First thing is it's keeping the opening closed, so it prevents any kind of insects getting inside there, because they're obviously going to be attracted to the level of sweetness inside these bottles. And secondly, it allows for the bottle to be in a expandable environment, so that the gases that are building up inside here then fill this hand of the glove. The glove stands up, or as you can see here, starts filling up, and then it becomes just a visual indicator that you need to just pop it off and let it breathe. And I mean, I'm certainly using bottles which are recycled, the only some elastic bands which are in the stationery supplies, and some latex gloves which obviously were new out the box, but there's not much in terms of materials going into this kind of setup. And as you can see, it's proving quite effective. I mean, look at that bubble. It's just going crazy. I am moving it around gently at times, well, 2 or 3 times during the day, but I'm resisting so giving it like a little nudge just to shift things around a little bit, just try and make sure that the liquids and the solids are re-establishing clean contacts and allowing chemical processes to go. But I'm being careful not to stir it or shake it in a vigorous fashion, because I don't want to mess with something that's working. And as you can see, it's forming a nice cloudy ale, which is going to take the shape of a cloudy ale once it's ready, and be pretty much in line with some of the craft beers that are running out there. I've had a cloudy pumpkin before, which is almost looked very similar to this. Had the distinct pumpkin flavor. Like this is going to have the distinct pineapple flavor. I did a sample test last night at 24 hours. I'll be doing another one every 24 hours till we take it out. And yeah, last night there definitely was already some fizz and pop in the product. Tasted had that distinct texture of a beer going through your tongue, and yeah, it was quite nice. It still quite sweet, and that's obviously as a result of there still being quite a high sugar content in the mixture. And as the yeast does its thing and works through that yeast, that sugar, it's gonna bring down the sweetness levels of the beer, and that's kind of also why I'm doing a little sample taste test every night on the 24-hour mark. Just gives me a little bit of an indication as to how the product's maturing, moving along, and eventually getting ready to get taken out and enjoyed in a nice chilled environment. I mean, just look at those bubbles, man. The gas is forming. From about 48 hours onwards, I'm expecting this to slow down. So from about tomorrow, this should be easing off as the first 48 hours should see the biggest consumption of the sugar and the conversion happening. So and then it's really just that the last day just gives you that last little push just to try and kick up the alcohol level on making sure the yeast pretty much uses everything. In a lot of ways, if you notice that your bubbling is still happening, it means that there's still yeast and sugar that's active and working. So you could even consider leaving these to stand long. There's a possibility I might decant at different stages. Take one bottle early and let one, well, maybe not early, but say on 72 hours, and then consider letting one other bottle stand over a little bit longer, maybe see what kind of effect that has. That way, if there is perhaps a spoilage at the end, I wouldn't ruin the whole batch and just maybe some of it. There's also a consideration that I could half empty a bottle at any stage, and thus actually get 4 separate extraction points out of this batch of 2 bottles. And again, that might be an idea just to test the alcohol levels in the product and so on and so on. So, but we'll see. It's going to be a bit of a trial by taste and experience as we go along, and we're just going to watch it come and tend on these bottles a couple of times during the day. So yeah, I'm just going to keep checking on it, making sure that it if there's any signs of anything turning a corner, that we nip it in the bud and catch it as quickly as possible. So pretty much ready and on standby from about tomorrow onwards to take this out and bottle it and chill it and close down the fermentation. But the idea is to see how long we can stretch it and how much kick we can get in here. So this is about potency, not about getting access to the product. It's about building up a good kick in this small batch that we're making here. And yeah, something to enjoy. Chat to you later.